On confessions of being a werewolf when somebody's under torture.
But in America's heartland, people are seeing something.
It had big teeth that hung down.
It was like a dog's howl.
Science explores the probability with a modern-day quest for answers. And for the first time, eyewitnesses are put to the test.
Are you lying about seeing those upright hairy creatures by that creek?
No.
Witnesses around the world report seeing monsters. Are they real or imaginary? Science searches for answers on Monster Quest. Picturesque Wisconsin, the landscape dotted with dairy farms, quaint villages, clear streams and vast forests, filled with wildlife. There have also been over 200 eyewitness reports describing something that should not be here.
This thing was big, anywhere from 6'7" to probably 7'2".
The shape of his head was canine.
This thing had jumped a 12-foot leap.
Hair was everywhere around. I mean, it was big.
600 pounds, 700, I don't know, but it was huge.
Eyewitness accounts describe the creature at least 3 very different ways. Wolf-like, bear-like, or more like a Bigfoot. Height ranges between 6 and 8 feet, and the creature has human-like hands and feet. In Wisconsin, the beast is commonly referred to as the Dogman. One train of thought is that these are all Bigfoot sightings, and others that they are known animals, misidentified. This investigation concentrates on the theory that they are wolf-like creatures which, while implausible, are not new to history. From about 1450 to 1700, hundreds of people were tried and executed in the great witch and werewolf trials of medieval Europe. While most were innocent people caught up in the hysteria, one man did confess.
Peter Stubb believed that he was a wolf. There is no doubt about that.
Peter Stubb of Bedburg, Germany, described himself as an insatiable bloodsucker. Under torture, he confessed to killing and eating 14 children, 2 pregnant women, and the pregnant women's fetuses. Stubb said the devil gave him a belt that allowed him to turn into a greedy, devouring wolf.
When he put on the belt, he obviously thought that he had the strength to perform all those strange acts which he confessed.
The magic belt was never found, and Stubb was ultimately executed based on his convincing confession.
Some people who were accused of being werewolves might actually have suffered from a disease called St. Anthony's fire. It's caused by a fungus that grows on rye, which happened to be a staple food of the peasantry of the time. The technical term is ergot. And ergot, or St. Anthony's fire, causes all kinds of delusions, strange behavior, and can be fatal. And it was very widespread in those days.
Psychiatrist and wildlife biologist Dr. Greg Bambinet believes there is a simpler explanation.
There was a psychiatrist in the late 1600s, happened to be a friend of the King of France, said, wait a minute, these are mental disorders. You can't rely on confessions of being a werewolf when somebody's under torture. And that started both the werewolves and witches being realized to be a mental disorder and not some wild creature.
Lycanthropy, the belief that one is a werewolf, is now a recognized psychosis. Since the 1960s and the advent of antipsychotic drugs, it has all but disappeared. Wolf-like creatures now live in the realm of psychology and Wisconsin.
We went out on a Friday night to a fish fry, actually. It was a clear night. There's a bridge that we have to go across, and you have to make a left-hand turn right after the bridge. And I spotted something on the bridge in my headlights. I stopped approximately 20-25 feet from the creature.
I think I may have said, oh my God, what is that?
had his back to us at first and swung around and looked right in the car. I made eye contact with it. 600 pounds, 700, I don't know, but it was huge. Over 7 foot tall.
As far as the fur, it was reddish brown.
The eyes were black. It didn't just vanish into nowhere. It jumped off of a bridge. It's like, I can't believe you saw that. You know, what was that? Did we really see that thing, you know, even?
Did you see that?
The witnesses that have talked to me seem very genuine in their stories.
Linda Godfrey is a journalist and researcher who has investigated over 100 eyewitness accounts in Wisconsin, compiling them into a book called The Beast of Bray Road, an area where many sightings occurred.
The witness group entails everybody from children to the very elderly, men, women, white collar, blue collar. I really believe that all of these witnesses have seen what they said they saw.
Dr. Greg Bambinek and hunting guide Don Young have traveled to Wisconsin in a monster quest search for evidence of the Dogman.
Most of the area in there is swamp surrounded and enclosed with highland.
And like the Pagliaronis, Young too claims to have seen the beast.
Since 2002, I've seen this thing 5 times. My last sighting was last year. Last year alone, I had 3 sightings. In total, I've had 5.
Young is a veteran hunter and guide.
The thing that I seen was at least 6.5, 7 feet tall. The hair that it had was a brownish black. It had human-looking feet, eyes black.
Bambinek believes most eyewitnesses are simply misidentifying a known animal like a bear or a wolf, but he is willing to investigate.
One last thing, Don. I need a DNA kit. Masks so we don't give them any illnesses. These are called vacuutators. They ask whether there's any blood on us.
Oh, what's that for there?
Vacuutator.
What is that stuff on the bottom of it?
That preserves it, so you don't need to refrigerate it. Set this around. Well, this is a chronograph. We're trying to get low enough speed, so we're not going to harm him.
Whatever is out there, Bambinek wants a live body to either prove his misidentification theory or validate Young's unknown beast assertions.
Well, this is the dart we use, the 7cc dart.
Together they plan to walk the same game trails where Young had his most recent encounter.
Yep. Right on.
Hoping to elicit a similar encounter, an area Young would like to keep secret to protect whatever is really out there.
Direct hit, bullseye.
Whatever or whoever is behind the sightings, Bambinek does not want to kill it.
And now it's ready. All it needs is a cap on there. Tranquilizer gun, we're able to gather the DNA evidence, get some blood samples, do some chemistries on them as well as DNA, get some hair samples, close-up photographs.
The area is near the location of another sighting, one that suggests Wisconsin may have real dog men.
Well, you lead the way.
It was a lazy summer day. Katie Zahn and 2 friends were out driving around.
We happened to come across a bridge that was near State Park.
A park where others claimed to have seen the beast, so they thought it was worth a look.
The closer we got to the water, we noticed that there were some creatures just kneeling down drinking some water. We noticed that they weren't humans, but they acted like humans, drinking water like a human would. They stood up and started to walk towards us.
Let's get out of here.
We were just trying to get out of there as quick as we could.
Katie Zahn like other witnesses Linda Godfrey has interviewed, has never been subjected to scientific scrutiny. Until now. Zahn has agreed to undergo a polygraph examination.
I think it'll prove a lot more than just what we have told. You know, I think it'll just kind of verify everything that has happened.
A polygraph, commonly but incorrectly referred to as a lie detector, is a device that measures and records several physiological variables, such as blood pressure, pulse, respiration, and skin conductivity, while the subject is asked a series of questions. The measurements are supposed to be indicators of anxiety that accompany the telling of lies. Some experts believe it is accurate in 70 to 90% of the cases. Sergeant William Mackey works for the Grand Forks, North Dakota Police Department and is an expert in administering polygraph tests.
I'll be looking for changes in your pulse, changes in your blood volume, and changes in your relative pressure. We'll be placing one of these clips on your index finger, one on your ring finger. These are going to record changes in your sweat gland activity. Before this year, did you ever consider lying to avoid embarrassment?
No.
It would be logical to dismiss the sightings as a hoax or exaggeration.
Are you lying about seeing those upright hairy creatures by that creek?
No.
But how do you explain her account if she passes? Something is said to be lurking in the Wisconsin wilderness, and Katie Zahn claims to have seen it.
Let's get out of here.
The legend of the so-called Dogman is similar in some ways to Native American lore.
I believe that we're talking about a shapeshifter.
Shape-shifting is a common theme in mythology and folklore. It is a physical change or transformation in the shape or form of a person or animal. David walks his bear as a game warden with the Shawnee Nation. He says while the beast of Native American lore can shapeshift, its behavior is very different.
And a shapeshifter, at least in the American Indian culture, and American Indian culture is generic from one nation to the next, is more of a trickster than what you always associate with say the European werewolves, or what we've always seen on TV of the wolf man, those kinds of things. A trickster is just exactly that. I've never come across an upright wolf man, dog man. That doesn't mean that that I preclude these from being real.
In European tradition, creatures like this are bloodthirsty, and there is one account that stands out. In south-central France from 1764 to 1767, an unknown entity killed upwards of 80 men, women, and children. The so-called Beast of Gewalden was described as a giant wolf by the sole survivor of the attacks, which ceased after wolves were hunted down and killed in the area. One modern theory is that the murders were committed by an early serial killer or killers. Another theory was that it was a pack of hungry wolves, yet people at the time called it a werewolf. They, like many Americans, may have been influenced by another folk legend dating back to the 13th century, the legend of the Woodhouse, or Wild Man of the Woods.
We know what they look like, especially because we know them from the figures in English churches in both Suffolk and Norfolk.
The carvings generally feature a giant hair-covered man, often carrying a club.
They are usually described in a traditional way in which you would expect anyone living in a forest should be described. That is a long beard. Sometimes they are depicted as naked, but with so much hair that the hair covers the entire body.
The Woodhouse was often considered neither man nor beast. It was said to be protective of humans it liked, and ruthless with those it did not. But modern theorists believe the Woodhouse may have been feral or a wild human, raised by animals.
Prior to your last birthday, did you ever think about lying to gain attention?
No.
Katie Zahn is one eyewitness that has agreed to a polygraph test.
Prior to this year, did you ever deliberately lie to somebody who trusted you?
No.
Are you lying about seeing those upright hairy creatures by that creek?
No.
The results are revealing.
The conclusion on Katie Zahn's polygraph was no deception indicated. It's my opinion that she was being truthful about seeing three animals walking on their hind legs down at the base of that bridge by the creek.
The polygraph corroborates her story, to a point. However, it does not rule out misidentification. Like Zahn, hunting guide Don Young has had encounters with a beast. One was in the summer of 2006, while hunting in southern Wisconsin.
It was hunting season, gun deer season. And like usual, I walked through the woods next to my house to get to this little road called Mount Peely Road. And looked out, seen something hunched over it. Thought it was maybe a black bear because it had brownish black colorations to it. The thing that I seen was at least 6.5, 7 feet tall, extremely bulky. Arms were extremely heavily built, low hung, had human-looking feet. This thing had jumped a 12-foot leap with only 2 to 3 steps. Well, the main reason I didn't shoot at this thing was, one, it wasn't bear season, it was deer season. So if it was a bear, I would have been a poacher if I would have shot it, because I didn't have no bear license in the first place. 2, if it was what I had suspected at the time as being a guy in a monkey suit, well, then it would have been murder. Head to a spruce swamp. There should be a good area in there.
Spruce swamp. Well, you lead the way.
Bambenek and Young are now in their second day, crisscrossing well-worn game trails.
Yeah. Be a good passage area over there. Bottleneck.
The most logical explanation for Zahn and Young's account is misidentification, since the woods of Wisconsin are teeming with wildlife. But Godfrey believes that doesn't explain the sightings.
Anybody who drives around much in Wisconsin has seen so many deer and so many bear and these other creatures that they would have a very hard time mistaking something like that for a completely unknown animal.
Dr. Bambenek says many eyewitness accounts suggest it's a black bear or timber wolf, temporarily standing on its hind legs to peer over an object like a tree trunk or tall grass. But if Young's account of a creature jumping a ditch on its hind legs is to be believed, there is a problem.
One of the reasons I don't think people are seeing bears is there's a very different image out in the forest. I mean, they can get up on 2 feet if they want to grab something up in a tree, but if they walk on 2 feet, they do it for a short period of time, but it's a very clumsy, lumbering type of walk. Not the kind that's seen with these creatures. Also, they have sloping shoulders, their legs are much shorter, and they just would go down on all fours.
If not a bear, then what? Hard evidence is lacking.
It's really stuck together.
Linda Godfrey collects more than just stories. In 2005, Godfrey received a hair sample from an anonymous woman who claimed an unknown beast was on her roof. When it jumped, a piece of fur was torn off on the metal roofing.
This is a piece of some kind of fur that was identified by a wildlife biologist as possibly some kind of canid fur. He didn't know what kind.
Godfrey sent the hair sample to Dr. Lynn Rogers, a wildlife biologist in Ely, Minnesota, who knows every creature that lurks there.
This one puzzled me at first because it didn't match any of the things I thought it might be. Skunk, mink, bear, coyote. But it wasn't any of those. It wasn't any North American native animal that I'm used to looking at.
By comparing attributes such as thickness, ring patterns, and other characteristics, experts can often pinpoint the exact species that a hair specimen is derived from. DNA analysis can be reserved for the most puzzling cases, but in this case, DNA will not be needed.
This was nothing other than just plain old domestic cat.
Hunter Don Young says he knows what he saw, and it's no cat.
I had a ground blind that was on a hill. At the bottom of the hill, I noticed the back, buttocks, and leg of an upright animal, like it was covered with hair. So I hear a growl. It's like, oh. So then there's this maple tree that was out there. Started whipping back and forth, but it was so violently whipping it back and forth that the leaves had all come off of this tree. Well, I got out of there.
Babinek and Young's search is about to turn something up.
Don and I went out to a place where we had a sighting. We were going along a ridge, and a pileated woodpecker just started going crazy. He was doing an alarm call. But this went on for 5 minutes, and both of us thought this is pretty unusual. Usually they stop and fly away, but it had not seen us. Walked a little bit, saw the pileated woodpecker, and it saw us, and it was looking the other way. It turned, saw us, and flew away. Don started walking, and I thought, well, why don't we check out what it was doing? It was down in this swamp.
Whoa! That's a huge bed.
Really huge.
The Midwest has a long history of an unknown upright walking beast, referred to as the dogman. There has been a spike in the number of sightings in the last 2 decades, like that of John Lyons in the summer of 2006.
Well, we came out here probably about 1:30 in the morning. Past the schoolhouse, and we went and turned around farther down the road. We sat there for, I guess, it's 30, 35, 45 minutes. We start hearing noises in front of us, behind us, and over to our left.
Go, go, go! Go!
It wasn't a deer, you know, it wasn't a bear, it wasn't pretty much anything else. We think that was the dogman.
Most eyewitness accounts, like Lyons, lack supporting evidence. However, Babinek and Young have found something.
I don't believe it's in this sawgrass. Look.
Something's been eating it. Nothing eats that stuff.
It was 9 feet long and 6 feet wide and had a trail coming in both ends.
Center of that bed, all the sawgrass had been eaten right down to the ground almost.
What could be eating that?
Not even a goat will eat that stuff. Cut its mouth all to pieces.
Because of the sharp saw-like serrations on the blades, dense beds of sawgrass can be dangerous to navigate through as the blades easily cut flesh. Consequently, sawgrass beds in Wisconsin generally do not harbor animals of any size. But there are more impressions made by something large and heavy.
And inside of it were footprints in the sawgrass, and they were like 18 inches long.
Step there from there, that's at least 4 feet.
There appears to be what I believe are biped footprints, especially on the trail coming in. You can see where it stepped over the sawgrass.
And we do have a lot of wildlife in the area, deer and bear, but deer aren't going to make a bed like this. They're going to have scattered 2-3 feet apart. This is either something very big or something clustered together.
With daylight fading and an impending storm approaching, they find one more piece of possible evidence, a strand of hair. This tangible clue will be examined in the lab when they return.
It was a beautiful day like today in the fall. Instead of taking the freeway through Elkhorn and go home, I got off on Highway 11 just for the ride.
Marv Kirshnick is a Wisconsin artist.
As I approached this one farm area, I saw something standing behind a fallen tree. I looked out through the window and I saw an object standing behind this fallen tree. And I thought at first it was like a large dog, but the size was just too great for it to be a dog. And as I'm looking, I noticed that this creature noticed me, and he was kind of moving and rummaging a little bit. He stopped and he looked at me, and we made eye contact, and we just looked at each other. I looked around, there's nothing, so I just drove off.
Kirshnick not only drew a rough sketch of the creature he saw, but has also filled his home with intricate sculptures and artworks based on his encounter.
This is one of my pieces that I created to eliminate any doubt or fears that I had about this creature. I made the creature, I put myself into him so that I would be more relaxed with what I saw.
Kirshnick's rendering looks canine, with one big exception: the human-like hands. Kirshnick has also agreed to take a polygraph test.
There's nothing that anyone can say to change my mind. There's nothing that anyone can do to make me not believe that this creature is real. Oh, I'd take any test.
Okay, if you want to lean forward and put your arm straight out. Okay.
Polygraph expert Sergeant William Mackey, a member of the American Polygraph Association, conducted Kirshnick's test in strict accordance with that organization's rules.
Regarding your statement about seeing that creature, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Whether Kirshnick will show evidence of deception remains to be seen.
Are you lying about seeing an upright hairy creature standing by that fallen tree?
No.
But not every eyewitness account is a good candidate for polygraph testing.
We heard yelling and screaming from the front, so my mother and I walked to the front yard to see what was going on.
In 1977, Milwaukee eyewitness Kim Del Rio was only 7 years old when she claimed to see the beast.
We saw, as well did several neighbors, the woman across the street clutching her child to her, about a 4-year-old kid, like this close and yelling, "Help! Go away, go away!" And what she was yelling at was this unusual animal going across her front lawn. To this day, my mother simply refers to it as that dog thing.
All you have to do is just close your eyes and take a few comfortably deep breaths.
Time can fade or change memories, especially those of children, affecting the quality of a polygraph test. However, hypnosis may reveal hidden memories. Del Rio agreed to be hypnotized by Milwaukee area hypnotist Jerry Calvi to help bring back a more conclusive memory of the event.
This thing's walking across her lawn, and she's yelling at it to go away.
It was 1977, and Kim Del Rio was just 7 years old when she claims to have encountered a man-beast.
I think one of the connections as a child that I made to having it seem like a baboon was the fact that it had fingers.
Because of Del Rio's young age at the time of the sightings, she is not a good polygraph candidate, but hypnosis may shed light on her account.
My goal in working with this young lady was to use hypnosis to regress her back to a time of her life where she could accurately re-experience, or at least very clearly remember, details that usually aren't easily remembered in a conscious state. All you have to do is just close your eyes and take a few comfortably deep breaths. As you listen to my voice, your body will be relaxing, completely relaxing. First we'll relax the body to a great deal, and then through some other methods continue to relax the thought process so that they're easy to focus on just one thought or one subject or one area at a time. Each number down is a step down into a deeper, more peaceful, pleasant place within you.
Hypnotherapist Jerry Calvi is using a technique called regressive hypnosis.
It's meaner than I remembered it. The hair on his body is short, but it's longer on his tail.
Longer on his tail?
It's got big hands and big teeth, and it's hunched over, and it's twitchy and looking around.
It's very difficult to tell whether somebody has a vivid imagination and is just relaying to you some things out of their imagination, or they are actual events. But as close as we could tell, she believed exactly what she was saying. These did not seem like imaginary events to her, neither before nor after. So it's as accurate a representation, I think, as we can get.
I noticed details that I didn't recall. The size of the hands, the bushiness of the fur across the back of the shoulders, how nervous and twitchy, kind of scared that the animal was. I didn't remember any of that at all, but under hypnosis I remembered it quite clearly.
It's possible that Del Rio was influenced by a strange story passed from generation to generation.
The small town of Primrose was said to be overrun with wolves in the mid-1800s, but these were not your ordinary wolves. They would run alongside settlers' sleighs in the snow and then suddenly vanish in a puff of mist or smoke, so that the settlers decided they were being beset by werewolves. And this was considered a very ill omen indeed if they saw one of these disappearing wolves.
At the time, Wisconsin was flush with newly arriving German immigrants.
There were many things that attracted people from the Germanic-speaking states of Europe to the Midwest in the 1800s. Europe at that time was full of unrest, and they came seeking similar land, a similar climate.
Germany, like Wisconsin, was home to wolves.
This led to a lot of confrontations between wolves and humans, and therefore to many superstitions about wolves growing up in the human communities.
The superstition traveled to Wisconsin with those German immigrants, and today that tradition, combined with a very real comeback story, could help explain the strange sightings. By 1960, known gray wolf breeding pairs had officially been eradicated in Wisconsin. Since that time, the wolf population has rebounded to about 500 animals, largely due to protection under the Endangered Species Act put in place in 1974. Since their reappearance, the number of dog band sightings has also increased. In 1989, Dennis Hastings was coon hunting with a buddy near Kenosha, Wisconsin.
And we were about 20 yards away from the patch of woods that we had walked out of. And at that point, we turned the dog loose and let it go hit another track.
You hear that?
Yeah.
What the heck?
What the heck was that?
I don't know.
The dog's heading off that way now. And all of a sudden, we start hearing something walking about 20 yards out into the woods. Oh, man!
It's loud. It might be a buck and rut, Dennis.
And as soon as he said that, the thing went... Holy cow, that was no buck and rut. I don't know what the heck that is, but I'm loading the gun. I said to my hunting partner, I think it's gone. And right after I said I think it's gone, we heard... Whoa! That thing just jumped out of the tree.
Although Hastings never saw the beast up close, he claims it was man-sized and walked on two legs. Even more recently, in 2003, Wisconsin resident Matt Wakely claims to have had an encounter with a similar animal.
It was about 2:30ish in the afternoon on a clear sunny day, and the sun was shining through the trees in the cemetery. Just as I turned the corner, I had looked into the cemetery, and through the trees I could see a figure standing there. The creature had to be about at least 6 feet tall, because it was standing on a stone. It had its foot up on a stone. It just really watched me, which was kind of creepy. Hair was everywhere around. I mean, it was big, like I would describe it as 80s hair. It had a real pronounced brow, like a Cro-Magnon type brow. Real wide nose and a mouth that kind of came out almost like an ape. I don't feel it really wanted to hurt me. I really didn't want to stay to find out if it was going to. I didn't want to stop the car to see if it would, you know, charge out or run away or what it would do.
The sheer number of sightings point to something strange in these Midwest woods. But are they all telling the truth? Like Katie Zahn and Marv Krishnick, Matt Wakely has also agreed to a polygraph test. Katie Zahn's polygraph came back as truthful, or no deception indicated. But were her results just an aberration?
Are you lying about seeing a hairy caveman-like creature in that cemetery?
No.
Eyewitnesses in Wisconsin describe a creature that does not exist, at least in the scientific world. Researcher Linda Godfrey has recorded the testimony of hundreds of eyewitnesses. This man says it stared him down as he drove by, and this woman was only 7 when she saw the dog man. These two said the creature jumped off a bridge in front of them. This man has been filling his life with images to help him cope. And this man says he has seen the beast 5 different times. In addition to Katie Zahn, 4 contemporary witnesses have agreed to undergo polygraph tests.
Regarding your statement about seeing that creature, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Are you lying about seeing a hairy caveman-like creature in that cemetery?
No.
Wisconsin residents Marv Krishnick, Matt Wakely, and husband and wife Mary and David Pagliaroni have all been laughed at and ridiculed for their stories.
And now for the moment of truth.
Now is their chance to prove they are not making it up.
All were very animated in the way they communicated with me. All of them described their sightings. They used nonverbal communication to describe their sightings. It was as if they were trying to walk me through what they had seen.
Pass or fail, it doesn't make any difference to me. I know what I saw.
The polygraph conclusion for Marv Krishnick's polygraph was no deception indicated to the relevant topic. The relevant topic in this case being whether or not he actually saw an animal that resembled a dog standing on its hind legs, standing behind that fallen tree on Highway 11.
I think the test went great. I didn't have anything to hide or lie about, and I feel it's going to show that what I saw is what I saw.
Matt Wakely, the results for his polygraph examination were no deception indicated to the relevant issue. The relevant issue being whether or not he actually did see a creature in the cemetery.
I feel the polygraph test went very well. I answered all the questions honestly and to the best of my ability.
I do feel very confident about the way the test went.
The polygraph results for both David and Mary Pagliaroni were no deception indicated to the relevant issue. The relevant issue in this case was, again, whether or not they'd actually observed a large fur-covered animal running on its hind legs.
Psychiatrist Greg Bambinek offers one explanation why each witness passed the test.
I believe that mass hysteria could have played a big part in the werewolf sightings and sightings of other upright hominid creatures in medieval times. At those times there was a religious fervor and could have explained such incidences. There was the same worldview among many of these people.
A state of mind that could have been influenced by centuries of legends like those of the German immigrants or Native Americans and reinforced by modern pop culture.
In the Middle Ages, people needed a reason for bad things that were happening, like serial killings, why their cattle were being taken, why children were missing. And so they would come up with reasons for this.
Dr. Bambanek and hunting guide Don Young staked out a location where Young claims to have seen the creature regularly over 5 years. They found a strange sawgrass bed with footprints and a small hair sample.
There appears to be what I believe are biped footprints, especially on the trail coming in. You can see where it stepped over the sawgrass and left a hump. Deer will walk straight through, a bear will walk straight through. Something was stepping over it.
When I've examined the hairs under a microscope, the ones that we found in the eating area where it rolled around in, maybe a red fox, but still it's darker than a red fox. But it is thin like that. All the other hairs, the bear, deer, don't fit with the diameter of the hair. A coyote is just a completely different color. So red fox is a possibility.
Bambanek sent the hair sample to forensic examiner Nick Patrico for a more exacting morphology exam.
This is very interesting. I could see the fact that there's lots of debris on this hair, which would be a good indication to me that it's from an environment that's an exposed environment like outdoors. Looks like it's from an actual living animal.
By comparing attributes such as thickness, ring patterns, and other characteristics, experts can often pinpoint the exact species that a hair specimen is derived from.
This is a hair from a black bear, so you would expect it to be darker. If its medulla is the same, the cuticle margin looks the same, the pigmentation looks very similar distribution, only a little darker. All these different morphological features, the thickness, the medulla, medullary index, the cortex, the cuticle margin, all this information tell me that this in fact is a hair from a brown bear.
It's hard to say just what made the ground nest found by Bambanek and Young. While the hair is from a brown-colored black bear, common to the upper Midwest, the tracks and nest construction do not seem to match bear behavior.
After 14 years of research and collecting tales, I'm up to about 100 reported witness sightings between Wisconsin and Michigan alone from normal, credible people.
History does not support the possibility that werewolves ever existed, or that the Wisconsin Dogman is real. Yet scientific polygraphs say eyewitnesses are seeing something they cannot explain away.
I just hope someday that I'll finally figure out what really happened out there.
But I do believe there are a lot of things out there that we just can't explain that easily. They do exist.
I'm 100% sure that these things are real. I'm just not sure exactly what they are.
I did not see a dog. I did not see a coyote. I did not see a monkey. I saw something that is entirely unknown.
You know, there's something out there that I actually do believe in it more now than I did before because I've actually seen something.
The things that go bump in the night, they're there. You just